born from the dream of a dairy farmer. We've kept some of those quintessential farming principles: hard work, fair play, and a never-say-die attitude. But of course, our mission is a little different now. Here at Bluestone, we all have one goal: giving freedom to our families. Freedom to embrace adventure in all its forms. Freedom to dig whatever holes they want to and splash around to their heart's desire. That's our business. We're in the business of freedom. Everything we do, whether it's firing up the grill or firing at a target, is in the pursuit of freedom for all at Bluestone. We do all we do to provide a carefree space for our younger generation. A space for our team to feel close to nature and get wrapped up in the beauty of Pembrokeshire. A space where the world is lit by a campfire, not a phone torch, where even a child's imagination might not be enough. A space where there's space to do whatever, whenever. Become part of the Bluestone family. There's always room around the campfire.
I have to say, I watched that video prepping for this yesterday in the same room as my 11-year-old, and she said, "Can we go there?" And I said, "Yes, but do you want to work there?" And she said, "Maybe when I'm older." So can we talk a bit about Bluestone? I mean, a bit of its history and what it is. Mentioning there, it started as a dairy farm.
Yes, so William McNamara is our founder. So he decided he didn't want to do dairy farming anymore. So he built a theme park called Oakwood on part of his farm, and he set that up, sold his share of the business to his brothers because he decided he wanted to do a holiday resort instead. So sort of through the planning and building stages, etc., it opened in 2008. Still with a few original buildings, so our old office was the old milking parlour. So we've got some really quirky buildings there as well, so it sort of developed from a farm into tourism.
And can you talk a bit about where it is and the challenges that brings when it comes to workforce and recruitment?
So it's obviously it's rural, so we're right in the middle of nowhere basically, so we have no infrastructure from a transport to get people to work. So the workforce is over 800 staff. There's a housekeeping team of over 300, so as you can imagine, trying to get them to work has been a big challenge. So pretty much from day one, what they did was they used to put a housekeeping bus on a Monday and a Friday, which is our changeover days, to enable those to staff to get home park. And then when I started 18 months ago and we started with a kickstart scheme, we realised that the youngsters couldn't get to the business either because we are pretty much 10, 15 miles away from any town. So we now have a bus that is paid for by the business that runs on a circular route, and starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 10:30 at night, so that all these people in all the major towns can get to work. So as I said, that's subsidised as well. And as another sort of thing, obviously childcare is a real challenge down by us as well. So we do in the holidays and inset days and things like that, we actually put on free childcare. Well, it's subsidised, it's £5 a day, which for those of you that got children will realise that's really reasonable. And you get staff points as well that you can use those points for. So a lot of staff, they save all their points up and pay for their childcare with their award points. So yeah, so we've tried to, those are some of the challenges. And obviously there's a low number of people that actually want work down by us. So in Pembrokeshire, that we are pretty much, the next stop is the Irish Sea. So yeah, we don't have many people. So our recruitment pool is very small at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of those places where everyone's like, oh, I'd love to retire there. So we have a lot of people who come down and they're not looking for work. So that is one of the challenges. So as well as not having many people in the pool of recruitment, there's then people that don't drive, can't get to work. So like Ellen said, we try and put the transport on to help that, we've put the childcare on to help that. So it's just overcoming all the different barriers and thinking outside the box to really try and get people to work.
And as a result of the difficulties, you've had to put this sort of strategy at the kind of front and centre of everything you do. And you've been driving that, haven't you, Carla?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about how that started and how you got into it as well, your career journey?
I mean, it's sort of developed through time, really. So we used to have the transport available just for housekeeping on a Monday and a Friday, and they actually used to pay £1.50 a day, and then we decided to make it free. just because obviously cost of living even back then. We thought it would be a really good benefit to offer it free of charge, so it sort of developed from there. And we were just trying to think of all different ways of really trying to get people to work so that we could have enough staff to clean all the lodges, because we're constantly growing. We're actually building 80 more lodges at the moment. So it's constantly growing, constantly needing more staff. So we've had to put these things in place over time, and it sort of all kept developing, and that's working with the department managers and having their input, as well as working with directors, heads of department.
So do lots of the ideas come from talking to the people who are working there, or is something you have to sit down at sort of head office level and talk about? How do you generate all this stuff?
It's a bit of both, really. So we do our own research, and we also do employee surveys. So we do engagement surveys once a year, as well as pulse surveys, which are like shorter surveys. Every quarter we try and do those. So we have sort of feedback from there, and we sort of liaise with local job centres, etc., to really try and understand the demographic and what those barriers are in the first place.
And those are all nice things, the accommodation, transport and everything, but I mean, pay remains key. And I know you've done a lot around this, so can you talk us through that, please?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work on pay bands, haven't we, in terms of trying to make ourselves more competitive. So we offer more than minimum wage, and Pembrokeshire is nowhere near sort of London salaries and hourly rates. So a lot of our competitors do sort of charge sort of minimum wage, etc. So we try and go above that. And we actually pay the same rate of pay for a 16-year-old as a 60-year-old, for example. So we believe that if someone's doing the job, then they should be paid the same as someone else doing the exact same job, and they shouldn't be paid differently just because their age is different.
Yeah, so when you look at the pay bands that are up on there, we don't have apprenticeship rates, we don't have 16 to 18-year-old rates, we literally have, our lowest rate is £9.75 an hour, and that's from 16 all the way up through the business, and then obviously the pay band. So we're also looking this year, our apprentices are going to be on £10.53 an hour, and that's even when they come in as a 16-year-old. So we're trying to give them the support and the credibility for the work that they're doing as well.
And to bring you into this, Helen, again, there's a lot of work around training and skills happening. Can you talk us through, can you start with the Bluestone Academy and how that's been developed?
So my background is actually education. I'm a teacher, so I was a teacher for 25 years, so I have a big belief in education and supporting young people especially, but now obviously the rest of the workforce. I've also had my own hospitality business, so I know the challenges. So they've set up the academy now, 18 months this has been running. So we're looking at proper apprenticeships coming in. It's very different in Wales. I've been listening to these wonderful things that are going on in England, but in Wales it's very different. We don't have the same type of funding that you have in England, but we've got an apprenticeship route coming through. We're working with a local Pembrokeshire college, and we're working on supported internships. So for those youngsters with additional learning needs, and the view is they're doing work experience with us at the moment, with the view that we can, if Bluestone suits them and they suit us, then we can offer them an apprenticeship at the end of that. We've also been, as I said, we connected with the Kickstart scheme, and we've also got a Future Leaders course running at the moment. So we've taken 16 of our current sort of entry-level supervisors up to sort of experienced managers, and we're doing a 12-month program with them where they have 3 days a month taken out of their operational roles, and we're doing things like leadership skills, sort of nuts and bolts of how to, investigations, HR policies. So we're trying to build within the business, and I think that's looking at, again, you were just talking about the women in the business. That's definitely a 50-50 split in those leaders that we're dealing with at the moment. We've also got over 40 staff at the moment doing like the apprenticeships within the hospitality side and the chefing, etc. We've got the ILM and CMI leadership. We've engaged with that, so we're doing level 3 up to level 5 at the moment. So that's what we've been working on for the last 18 months.
Just one or two things.
Keeps us busy.
Yeah. And are you looking at measuring that in terms of business benefits? Do you know that's helping retention? Are you measuring it, or are you just doing it because you know you have to do it at the moment?
No, we're doing that with a target to measure, definitely. So, for instance, within the Future Leaders team at the moment that we've got, out of the 16, we've been running 8 months. 6 people already have been promoted within the business from their involvement and their understanding of the business. So, yeah, we will be measuring. how people progress, etc.
And the same with the supported internships, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
hoping to progress them into your other roles with the apprentices and then develop from there.
And talking about apprenticeships, you had your first cohort through this year,
Yes.
looking to start again next year. What have you learnt from this first year? What will you be doing differently next year, if anything?
At the moment, the way that they come in is the hospitality one. They actually go and try 6 different departments, so we do the qualification through that. So again, we haven't asked them for their feedback yet because they're only on their 3rd block. So it works like a college course. So again, to try and reduce all those barriers, so they come in, they work Monday to Thursday, they get the free bus 10 till 4, so it's more like a college apprenticeship rather than a working. And then what will happen next year if they continue is then we'll make their hours more operational. So at the moment, it seems to be successful. The chefs that we've got, they do 6 weeks in each outlet, so they get to experience all the different techniques around the different resorts. We've got different restaurants as well. So as it stands at the moment, I think we'll stick with it as it is. But we recruit in September, so we're going to be competing against all our colleges. But we know that a lot of the youngsters from the colleges are quite attracted by our academy because you're actually getting paid to do the same course that they're doing in college. So that's the way that we're working on it.
And talking about recruitment, Carla, can you talk us a bit about all the stuff you've had to do to kind of raise the message of you as an employer and that the jobs are available there kind of locally? I know you've done an awful lot.
Yes, we've had to do quite a lot just to sort of get the word out there because we've got a lot of competitors and because the pool is so small, we've really had to try and think outside the box in terms of how we advertise. So one of the things that's been really successful is using a door drop campaign with Royal Mail. So we liaise with the Royal Mail, our marketing team design lovely leaflets advertising our roles, and then the Royal Mail deliver it. So it's gone to every house in Pembrokeshire and West Carmarthenshire as well. So that's been really popular because every person's got their post in the morning and one of our leaflets is there. So that's been really popular. We've also done campaigns with sort of local newspapers, local radio stations as well. And we use social media quite a lot. So Facebook and Instagram, and that's sometimes just the free posts that you can put up, which get a lot of shares, mainly by our staff, but because Pembrokeshire is fairly small, it does kind of get the word out there. But also using sponsored ads as well, so putting some money into it to target a new audience. And we've also done a new careers website. So we've got a completely separate website to the Bluestone website. So it's careers.bluestonewales.com. And that means that we can have much more information on there. So there's a bit about the academy, there's a bit about our benefits, and then it's got all our vacancies, it's got our values on it. So it's a lot more engaging with people and they can see whether they think we're a good fit for them.
And you've had to go wider than locally, presumably. There aren't enough people to fill everything you need.
Yes, so we've expanded a little bit more. So in terms of like the ground level roles, we've sort of gone into Carmarthenshire a little bit. And then for the higher level roles, we've had to completely expand and sort of use recruitment agencies. So as part of that, you saw with Bluestone, and what we've got at the moment, I mentioned we've got our 80 new lodges, but we're also converting an old flour mill, which is a 4-storey Grade 2 listed building, into a restaurant. So we're currently having to recruit for that as well, which is loads of chefs, which, as we all know, are quite hard to recruit for, and sort of front of house staff as well. So we've used an agency for the head chef role there. So we've got a few applicants, which hopefully we're offering tomorrow. And then we've also had to use agencies for other things as well, and also from chefs that have come over from different places. I think it got mentioned earlier about people from India coming over to the UK and working in hospitality. So we've already had 6 chefs come over, and we've got another 4 that we're hoping to come over as well.
And being where you are, that recruitment problem is going to be a long-term issue. And I know lots of bodies and companies do lots of outreach in schools. But Helen, you go to primary school to talk to kids in the area about Bluestone.
We've sponsored a scheme called To Be Enterprising, which actually looks at the age 4 up to age 8. So you sponsor like an entrepreneurial scheme. So we've sponsored 2 schools with that. We've also just done a whole in the Welsh curriculum. Careers is now fully embedded in the primary school curriculum. So instead of it just being an add-on, it has to be taught throughout. So one of our local schools in our biggest sort of catchment town, Pembroke, They've done a whole term on careers work. So they've been like doing pricing, translating into Welsh. They've been doing VAT returns. They've been doing guest cards. So a couple of weeks ago, we had 78-year-olds. And that's 78-year-olds, not 78-year-olds. 78-year-olds on park, and the team were giving them tours around all the venues. So they were going into the back of house, they were going into the spa, they did some activities with the housekeepers on how to fold towels and make toilet points and things like that. And, you know, at the end of the day of the session when they'd visited, you know, how many of you want to come and work at Bluestone? And it was like a 95% success rate. But then obviously we're going to, from there, all the way through the primary school, then go into like the year 7s. So we'll revisit again, and then we'll go into them in year 9, and then we'll go back to them in year 11. So there will be that continual journey. So in 8 years' time, bring me back and see how many of I've actually recruited from my first visit. But that is the, you know, the long-term plan, is to continually go into all our schools. And, you know, when I first started 18 months, I was sort of knocking on doors. Now people are clamouring for us to actually go and visit and go and do those careers talks. And can you come and talk to our year 12s? Because again, I know somebody earlier said that traditionally schools push them towards the academic subjects in Pembrokeshire. They're not now. They're actually, they want to keep the talent in Pembrokeshire, and they realise how important tourism is to us, and they're actually pushing them more towards our type of apprenticeship courses, and they want us to go out. And every careers talk I've been to recently, it's all been the apprenticeships that have been advertised in the careers talks, not the traditional university courses. So, you know, there's a big push in Pembrokeshire at the moment to try and support our industry as well from the schools. So that's really good. And obviously we work really closely with Pembrokeshire College and their employment bureau as well. So we're trying to link with them.
We're running out of time, and I'm very sad about that, because I could chat to you, because you have so much going on, and we could chat for at least another half an hour, I'm sure. But as a final question, of all of the things that you've done, all the amazing work you've done, what's the thing you're most proud of? To both of you.
We're going to talk about each own's particular jobs, because we work sort of together but apart. So the biggest thing for me is going into schools and making a difference for youngsters, because that's always been my career choice. So to actually go in, and then we've had PRU students, pupil referral students, and we've had people that have been school refusers, and after they've done a tour, they've applied and they're now doing apprenticeships with us. And then those pupil referral unit students are coming on site for another tour, and they're seeing that student in a chef role, and they're like, oh my God, that's Daniel. He got a job here. Right, we could do that. So to me, that's my, and you know, our new apprenticeships and our internships, if we could employ them in September, these youngsters, we can sort of get them into the industry and feeling really valued in society. That's my proudest thing at the moment.
Carla?
I think mine is probably the fact that it sort of all came together with sort of all the hard work that goes into the whole recruitment strategy, and sort of doing all the different advertising campaigns and seeing the results from that. Like, our housekeeping department were sort of in dire straits, and we've got this posh spreadsheet which works it all out of how many people we are needed for that role, and we were down by 40. And now we're actually plus about 6.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, which will be needed because we're building more lodges. So it's not really a plus, but it's literally gone, and we've managed, and that's with retention, because obviously we're losing people as well. So it's not that I've just recruited sort of 34 people, it's that we've recruited loads, we've lost some along the way, but we're still above where we need to be.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Thank you for getting up so early. Happy St David's Day.
Thank you.
Deal.
Thank you very much.
Deal.
Yeah, deal. Thank you.